Hello there, this is David from David Books and Comics, and today I want to talk about a martial arts series that ran in the West, originally published in Hong Kong, but ran in the West for 9 issues. And this publication featured this character, Fan Gang, who was the one-armed swordsman, and it was published by this company called Victory Comics, and it was on during the late 1980s that Tony Wong in the Jademan series of comic books, which I have a huge collection of, came out. And the Jademan books really featured the traditional martial arts stories that appeared in Hong Kong and China and much of the Asian Chinese Mandarin speaking diaspora. And this one is actually based on a film. This character is based on a film called The New One-Armed Swordsman. And I'll show you, this is a Region 3, what's called a Region 3 DVD series. And it features the Jimmy Wong Yu, that's this character, in the very famous Hong Kong film that was released in 1967 called the One-Armed Swordsman. And it was considered, it was directed by a guy named Chang Che, who was known for depicting males in very staunch martial arts films. Among the actors that he employed in his films, Jimmy Wong Yu is one of the first. And like I said, 1966, 67, this film, The One-Armed Swordsman, came out. And then he reprised the role again in The Return of the One-Armed Swordsman. And he played again the One-Armed Swordsman in a very famous Japanese film called Zatoichi Meets the One-Armed Swordsman. And it starred sometimes Shintaro Katsu, sometimes Katsu Shintaro, but he was the main lead. Zatoichi was blind, so disability was never hampered the ability of a swordsman to defeat the bad guys. The Zatoichi films with Katsu and Shintaro were prolific. Like I don't know how many there are, but at least 30, if not more, plus a TV series. So, but anyway, this one is famous because it features Jimmy Wong Yu and Shintaro Katsu in the film Zatoichi Meets the One-Armed Swordsman, considered one of the best, what's called chambara, Japanese martial arts films ever made. Zatoichi was blind, so to watch the films and see how he does what he does with his sword, it has to be seen to be believed. Anyway, so this is the not bootleg but original films, and this is what this comic book is based on. It's actually the new One-Armed Swordsman. This is David Kyung, a famous Hong Kong actor, and it featured Ti Lung, another famous Hong Kong actor, and they played in at least a dozen films together. Director again is Chang Che, and Li Ching is the lead actor, but really the focus of the two male leads. It also features Ku Feng. This film was actually released in the West with a different title. It was called Triple Iron, and I did see the film in theaters when it was first released. I believe it was released back in 1972 or 73. The date here is 1971 when the film was first made. Anyway, the story is about this swordsman who comes to fight this evil gang lord, and he destroys or kills many of the bad guys. But the gang lord eventually develops, and just look through it and you'll get to see. That's him. That's the gang lord. The art is pretty primitive, but it basically follows the plot of the film, The New One-Armed Swordsman, including having the triple irons as the lead weapon, and this is the hero. This is what the man who will eventually become the one-armed swordsman. The art is not bad. I mean, it looks primitive and it looks like early Classics Illustrated, classic comics type artwork. But it does feature some nice little action. It has elements of lots of swordplay and elements of sorcery and fantasy. And eventually he is tricked and defeated by the gang lord. And the gang lord, as in the film, forces him to cut off his own arm. And then he works in a restaurant, becomes skilled, is very skilled using one arm. It's exactly the same plot as in the movie. These comic books often featured these posters, which is basically the covers of the comic books. These are a lot of fun to read, actually, especially if you understand martial arts literature, and even if you don't. The martial arts literature, or wuxia as they call it in China, is the popular literature of the young people. And writers like Jin Yong or Louis Cha, Yang Yusheng, Wang Dulu, and others were prolific in publishing these martial arts stories. Many of them were made into films. Gulong in Taiwan. Many of these were made into films. And this is one of them. So this is from late 1980s, and basically, unabashedly, it copied the exact story from the film New One-Armed Swordsman. So there you go. So that's a look at that. This is number 1. This is number 2. The first one is all in slick paper. And according to this is Leung's Publications, USA branch. And they're about 52 pages long. So they are long reads. But they're really focused on action and plot. When you read Chinese martial arts stories, which a few have been published in the West, mainly the Jin Yong ones, the Louis Cha Jin Yong ones, have been published in the West and translated into English. The most famous one being the 3-volume Deer and the Cauldron. So the translations are by and large well done. The classic Chinese martial arts novels, The Outlaw of the West, has been translated both by Pearl S. Buck, and her version is called All Men Are Brothers, which I have a copy of. And there is a really good English translation called, which is 4 volumes long, called The Outlaws of the Marsh. And that was what's considered to be one of the classic early versions of martial arts novels, or wuxia. So this is number 2. And this is number 3. These stories really are atypical. If you've ever read a Jin Yong novel, as I said, they've been translated, you'll see that it's heavy on character, heavy on plot, and doesn't have that kind of psychological introspection you tend to see in Western comic books. Reading an Eastern or an Asian novel, whether you read Eiji Yoshikawa's Musashi, or even one of these Chinese stories and novels, you realize Eastern literature is quite a departure from the Western style of writing, with its themes of redemption and breakthrough. All right, so I'll give you an idea. This is number 3. It does feature elements, lots of swordplay, but elements of fantasy and, of course, sorcery, but done in the Asian style. So this is number 4. Number 5. This is number 6. Number 7, and again 52 pages long. The Chinese comic books that were published here in North America are long compared to the Western ones, for the same price, by the way. This is number 8. And number 9. All right. So just to give you an idea, if you are going to buy these, you can buy bootlegs, but I always say buy the originals. And they are available both on Blu-ray. These are the old DVD versions, but they are available on Blu-ray. So this is the new One-Armed Swordsman with David Keong and Ti Lung. And this is the one with Jimmy Wong Yu. And this is the first one from 1967. With Wong Yu, Chai Chao, and Panyin Tse. All right. So I hope you enjoyed this look at this short video on the One-Armed Swordsman. I do have some of the Jademan series. The series that intrigued me the most was the Blood Sword series, which has elements of both martial arts in its traditional story form, with the themes of heavy on plot and action and characterization. And I have a few other titles that I've collected. Whenever I see them, they usually go for inexpensive inexpensively. You find them in these bargain bins. But I find nowadays that it's becoming harder and harder to find as people start looking for what they enjoyed in the past. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this little video on the One-Armed Swordsman comic books. And if you did, remember to give me that like. Thanks everyone for subscribing. And feel free to comment and maybe talk about what your favorite, if you've ever collected the Jademan books, what your favorite series is. All right, thanks. Bye.